Finally, I don't know what was going on. I could not get the recording to start. So, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about breeding because I had a perfect situation arise to discuss with you all. So, what I've been working on is a lot of different breeding projects, and I'll say right now that food is disabled, the hunger is disabled at the moment, otherwise I would need to be feeding these guys because we have people out of town. So, I'm working on my squid breeding project, and what I do is I like to keep track of stats. For my breeders, I either don't put any points in them, or I make folders. If I have a use for them and I know I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff with them, I will come over here and I will record their stats by hitting new folder, and then I'll write out, 18398 health, something like that, and I'll just fill them with folders with all of their stats so it's easy to keep track of. Now, the important thing about doing that is because when you're breeding, yeah, you can just breed two random animals together and see what you get, and that's what a lot of people do, and a lot of people make some serious mistakes when it comes to breeding. So I purged a few, but you can see here we've got Ugbutt. Of the wild females that I tamed, you can see she's wild here, wild ancestry. She had the best weight. And then I had another female that's not here at the moment, but she had the best health. And then I had another one that had the best stamina. And then I had another one that had the best melee. So, in order to try to get the best possible squid I could... yeah, okay, I did say wait, yes. I was breeding up the stats one by one, just trying to mix them in, and if I got a squid that had two of the good stats in it, and the parent didn't have it, I'd purge it, or if it belonged to somebody else, I'd take it back home. And I'd keep the one that had two stats, I'd purge the parent, excuse me. Oof, I am making all kinds of mistakes here. Until I got to this guy, and this guy is my perfect stat male. You can see here he has all the stats that I really, really wanted. Health, stamina, weight, and melee damage. These were the only things that really mattered to me. The fifth stat here would be food, and I didn't really care about that. Now, movement speed, that stays the same when you imprint. Torpidity too, that's based on level, although I have a mystery that I will share with you on the next thing. So if you look here, we have one of these squids that popped out as 131, and you might get really excited and say, oh yes, it's a higher level, this is going to be a better squid. Well, let me tell you now, level doesn't matter. Don't look at the level and think, I've got a better, animal here. That isn't really what matters, because sometimes it's the useless stats. So this one probably has higher food. He's got the base melee unimprinted. He's got the base health unimprinted. The other guy had imprinted. But he's missing stamina. And if I imprinted him, he'd probably turn out to have higher food. We can check now. I'm going to go ahead and just cheat. Set imprint quality 1. Now it won't show up the new melee. You have to kind of leave the area and come back. Same with the weight, because the weight does go up on these guys too. I was hoping it would show food, but I guess it doesn't do that either. But anyway, so normally people would be really excited when they see a higher level. That's not really the case on this one, because this is one of my important stats. So I am not happy that this guy got a lower level. He's actually garbage. The rest of these are garbage too, and I will take them out and kill them later. Now this one over here, this one I'm actually keeping. And the only reason I'm keeping it is because it got a different color. So that's another thing that you can breed for, is colors. And that can be kind of important too. When I was working on my Pteranodon project, I purged too many of my pretty colors because I just had too many Pteranodons and got really upset because I purged some colors I like. But yeah, so this one has Mom's black tentacles. And Mom is a pretty low level. She's only 115. And when I looked at this one's stats, I saw all it's missing is the stamina. So I changed the name to be Missing Stamina, just to kind of keep an eye on the stats. Over here's two of the parents of these crappy squid babies. You can see missing melee, missing melee. So I make sure to mark a note in their name. So if I'm working on the project and I got, like, say, a male with high melee and low weight, but these girls had the weight, then I go ahead and breed them to the guy with high weight and hope for good results. And that's exactly what I did with this. And that's what I got. My perfect male breeder. Lower food, but all the right stats that I want. So now let's go ahead and take a look at another one of my little projects. I think all these babies should stay. I disabled one on them. And we'll talk a little bit about mutations. So let me get my trusty Pelagornis wherever I left it. There it is. And I'm keeping my dive suit on until I get out of here, just because sometimes I crash over the water. So let's go ahead and take the dive suit off. Take those goggles off too, because that will drive me insane. Put on my regular armor. And we're going to come in here and we're going to take a look at the Pteranodons. Now, I do have them crammed into a really tight spot, so it is a bit hard to see, but we'll do a bit of cheat flying here to make things easier. So you can see I have some of these named mutation 1, 2, 3. You know, over here is 2 and 4, 5 and 6, or 6 and 7, 2, 5 and 6, mutation 6. So what I've been doing, because people are asking me, how do you know that's mutation 1? No. It's not that I know it's mutation 1. It's every time I get a mutation, I pull it out of my general breeding line and I mark the name mutation. And I just count them off. Mutation 1 is the first one I got, mutation 2 is the second, mutation 3 the third, so on and so forth. Because if you make the mistake of breeding, say, this one here with 4 mutations to, say, this girl here with 4 mutations, and they're the exact same mutations, what you'd end up getting is a Pteranodon that said 8 mutations on it. It would say 4 on the matrilineal, 4 on the patrilineal, and it would tell you 8 total mutations when you looked in here. So when you look, you would see 4 and 4. And you wouldn't know if those are fresh mutations or what mutations they were, especially for something that you're doing a lot of breeding of. Like for my part, it's Pteranodons. So it would get really confusing. And so I like to just give them a name with the mutations. I usually mark if they're male or female, so that when I look at the eggs, I know what I got. And when I go to breed, I can check and make sure I'm not mixing mutations. So otherwise you'll end up like my Dimorphodons, and I'm going over to the Dimorphodon house. There should be some baby Pteranodons in there too. So let's see what we got. So let's come over here to my Dimorphodons. So a buddy of mine and I were both working on these and passing cool colors back and forth because we only cared about colors. But you can see over here how screwed up this is. It's got 26 mutations on one side, it's got 16 on the other, and a lot of these are probably the exact same mutation stacked over and over and over and over again. So my bloodlines on these, they are not clean at all. That one only has 2. That one's not so bad. And that's kind of something I hate, because I don't know if, you know, I've got what colors in there or what stats are in there. I only see 2. There should have been at least 12 eggs down. Oh well. Oh, they all fell through the floor. So anyway, here we have a couple of Pteranodons that I was working on. So I can tell, because I know my Pteranodon stats pretty good. It got the right health, did not get the right stamina, did not get the right weights, did get the right melee. But I can come in here and I can look and see, what do we have here? Okay, so it's Mutation 3. Now, if you remember back at my place, Mutation 3 was a really low level. I also had no idea what color Mutation 3 was. And these guys finally popped it up for me. Mutation 3 is bright orange. Look at that. That's pretty. Very pretty, very pretty. So every mutation has a stat and a color associated with it. You're not always going to get both. Sometimes you'll get one, sometimes you'll get two, sometimes you'll get neither. So this one is a good example. She has a mutation. Now, her mother exhibited the stat and the color, but she has neither. But if I come over here, let's see, and I look at her mom, you'll see she has, wait, where is she? Oh, maybe she's out front. Yeah, I haven't moved her yet. She has this really pretty blue tail, and that's her mutation, and she got the stat. I can't tell you how many Pteranodons I've gotten that have neither, but they'll say they have mutations, so don't panic, because sometimes the color will show up later, like that little orange guy just now. And also sometimes the stat will show up later too, because sometimes you'll get the color and you won't get the stat, and you'll have no idea what stat it is. So if you just keep breeding, you'll eventually be able to see what it is. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with this guy. I really wanted to see what that mutation was. I'm going to just disable wander on you. And I wanted to see, you know, what the stat and what the color is. It's hard for me to tell what the stat is on some of these guys because they weren't, you know, my base level. So I'm trying to get them up to 156 or 162 so I can tell their level. Now that's the other oddity I wanted to talk about today with mutation, or excuse me, breeding. Normally your torpidity is supposed to be based on level. I had a bizarre incident occur with my Pteranodons. So you'll see here I've got perfect females down here, they're all 156. I've got a perfect male green breeder, he's 156, and then I have some 162s in here. Now granted, mutations will give you a bump in 2 levels if it's affecting the stat, which is fantastic. So I had a 166 born recently, and it had 2 of the mutations showing up. But this guy, his stats were identical to the 156's. The only thing I could find different was the torpidity, which is supposed to be based on level, and your levels are supposed to be based on your stats. There are no differences at all in these stats on him except the torpidity. No sense at all. Oh yes, that's the other thing I should explain. Your level is based on your stat increase here, or your stats here. So that's why that 131 showed up as a really high level, because it had more food. And that's a stat that I don't care about, so. But this guy here, yeah, he's an oddball. And see, everything's exactly the same. No sense whatsoever. At least it should be exactly the same. Let me double check this. Unless something weird has changed. No, exactly the same. So, yeah, you will get some oddities sometimes, but usually your level is based on the stats. So each stat that you increase increases the level of the animal. But if you're getting useless stuff like oxygen and food that you don't really care about on, say, something like a Pteranodon, you're kind of getting screwed over there a bit. Now, for my own sake, to see how high I could get the level, I did breed in food and oxygen on my Pteranodons. there was no real point to it. It was just sort of a fun thing that I did. But it took me a while to breed in all the right stats. And you'll see there are some lower level ones. They are sort of my steps along the way. And they had mutations, so they got pulled out of the breeding program. So that I wasn't accidentally stacking mutations until I got a perfect female. And could start churning out cool ones with the really cool mutation colors. I'm sure you've seen these guys. I've got a cyan body. I've got bright red wings. I've got, let's see, what have you got? I got somebody over here with pink wings, bright pink wings. Those are mutation color. And I've got another one with an 8th mutation over here on my roof. I'll just head on over. Now, I kind of messed up the first time I got this one because I decided, oh, it's going to be my personal mount. And it should have had 5 mutations. And I thought, well, maybe one of these mutations that hasn't shown the color is showing up as brown. But I didn't pay close enough attention to the mutations here. I checked the parents, checked how many mutations the parents had. You can actually see here if you look through. And this guy here got an extra mutation. Oh, right here is where you can see it. So this should add up to 5. And this is another reason I like doing this, because I can look at his history and see. But he came out to 6, and that 6th mutation is that pretty brown wing color. So, I know this was a really quick explanation of how to do all this and how to keep an eye on your stats, but hopefully it's something that can actually help you when you're trying to breed up perfect animals, because perfect animals are great. You can see here we have the Anki project. I was given the two breeders we had, obsidian and steel, to hang on to and to make eggs for people. Unfortunately, what I'm not happy about is this guy here. He's got a mutation. I don't have any clean stat males. But what I've been doing is I found some other colors I like, and I've been slowly breeding them up. This one has orange spikes that I love. This one is red with a white body. And I've just been breeding them to my the breeders here to try to get their stats up. So I've got the males hanging out by Obsidian, who is our highest stats, minus a mutation. So you'll see this guy, I think it's getting kind of dark. Let me turn up the gamma here. Go up to gamma 4. There you go. Now you can probably see it. He's got a new mutation. He's got purple stripes. So, and this guy has orange stripes as his mutation. But yeah, so I'm being really careful. I did find this one. He was not the 138 without a mutation level that the other ones turned out as. He was actually 135 and he was missing the stamina. So I'm borrowing him to try to mate with some of these females and get them up to the point where I can mate them with the guy with the mutation without screwing things up. Now this one does have 2 mutations. You can see I marked that she has, she's purple and she has 2 mutations. So she has the mutation that our male had. So, and kind of interesting too, we had really good base stats that somebody else had worked on, and then I noticed this girl, I think she has higher melee damage. It's hard for me to tell without, you know, with the imprints, but there is a trick that if you're trying to check the stats without the imprints, which will be the same as the wilds, you can come up to your animal. Let's see, where is he? Right here. And you can, oh no, he's not imprinted, okay. But you can, if you have one that's imprinted, do cheat set imprint quality is 0, and it'll set you back down to the base stats. Sometimes it won't show up properly and you need to get out of render range, just fly a little way, and then fly back and it'll show up as you know, what the base stats are without the imprint. And then you can just cheat imprint quality back to 1. And again, same thing, you'll have to fly a little ways out of range and then come back to see your proper stats imprinted. Anyway, I think that about does it. This is actually a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but I just kind of wanted to show you a few things because I know there's so much confusion about breeding, and hopefully I didn't just make it a lot more confusing. But I want to thank you for joining, and I hope to see you back next time. Take care now. Bye-bye.